Alright, so let's quickly talk about what I did. So, uh, because Digi decided that he'd write a light novel inside 24 hours, I decided I'd attempt it. Originally, I would have done it in 3 days, 6 hours on a Friday after school, 6 hours on a Saturday, and then the no 12 hours on that Saturday, and then another 6 hours on the Sunday because I am always awake more than 12 hours. Turns out I wasn't. I ended up sleeping on the first day because I never realized how exhausting writing can be, and that's the big point because well, they're never tired. They seem like always energetic, yet writing takes a lot of energy. I learned through doing this, and at the end, I just decided I'd stop at 14 hours of writing. Oh, 13 and 59 minutes, but yeah, it's close enough. So yeah, I was able to learn a lot though through my writing. Unlike Digi, who ended up writing a commentary for a script, I uh, I actually tried writing a novel. I came up with my own theory or like my own idea for like I was doing a magic theme, obviously. My main influence for that is Akashic Records because I enjoyed it. You might see a picture of that on my notes paper. I don't know when I'm going to show because I'm recording this on my mic without any visuals, so this is going to be great. Well, so yeah, it was slightly influenced by that, and then uh the whole magic system, who is like almost like code, was because of the area magic high school, which that was relevant because I was discussing it with a friend. So really, everything I made was actually just influenced by whatever I saw around me, and I just wanted to do something different too. It was like really weird. My story. I don't. What the point where I gave up was really awkward. It was really unfinished, unpolished, but it's fine. So, anyways, so in those 14 hours, I got 13,000 words done. If you watch the live stream, you notice that in the first half, so maybe in the first 7 hours, I actually probably only wrote like 5,000, 6,000 words. So you can see though, I sped up quite a lot, and that's really important. I don't know how typing is in Japanese. Let's say they're typing in kanji, most likely, which is actually fairly easy to type in. My parents write in Chinese and kanji is pretty much kanji, however you pronounce it, is pretty much the same thing. So yeah, writing typing speed is not too much of a problem, but again, I'd like to mention this later in a later section of this. I'm gonna do a lot of uhs because I'm not gonna cut them out because I'm lazy. Well, I'm gonna talk about how writing on the phone that is a big difference than what they did inside of what I did, which was typing on a computer. For you know how the first years of Masamune or Muramas, yeah, Masamune's writing. Well, oh boy, he was writing chapter after chapter, and I don't know how long the chapter was for that web novel, but guessing from the fact that by 35 he wasn't done a book yet, I'd say maybe a chapter is 10 pages. So 30 pages in 10 minutes. I just call bull because 30 minutes like just enough for me to write, let's say, 500 words, and 500 words is definitely not enough for 10 pages or something, I'd say. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Well, again, he was a child, but then again, I am still a child. I just turned 16, so I should be in around the same setting as him. Of course, I'm gonna know all about the key differences once I start talking about the show, because I want to talk about my thesis, like at the end, like my results. Let's continue talking about what I wrote. So I had a whole system. I even wrote down something. Again, you'll see it on the paper. I'll probably just leave the paper just there for majority of this part for the next 4 minutes, for 4 minutes from start, whatever. I came up with characters again that I'm English, so I need to come up with names who aren't like Masamune or Muramasa, Kazuma, or those generic Japanese ones because well, I wanted some uh, English sounding names. Liz or Elizabeth came from that the project I mentioned that I did for my school, I don't know if I actually no, I didn't mention it, but I probably mentioned it somewhere. But yeah, I mentioned inside the linked. Sorry, I mentioned it at the end of my Google Docs folder that has a story, and then the point where I gave up, and then just a few notes that I probably will have to read later because I am professional. Anyhow, so Liz came from that because, well, Liz, I'm pretty sure came from Elizabeth. I was trending of that. I just wanted a word. I probably had some influence from a YouTuber I watched by the name of Lost Pause. Yeah, that's not important. All you need to know is that just came up in mind. And then the male friend, Dev, or shortening for Devin, Dev actually came from the word developer because I just love all things tech, and I was Trinibio once, and I had a character who was all about tech, so that's where the whole Dev name came from. Tess. I have no idea. At that point, I'm like, I don't think he's gonna be a main character. Let's just give him some random name. I ended up making him a main character. That's a bad thing about writing on the fly. Of course, my memory is really bad, so I could have probably came up with a story, kept it in my mind for like a week, like they did. And so if they do it in one day and they can just write whenever they want, even as you notice, that's something I'm going to talk about too at the end. I need to note that down 1 second. As you can notice, I don't actually write that much too. I just occasionally just note down whenever I want to. Yeah, that's why it's really incomplete. There's a lot of stuff. You also the middle. That's where I had all my beginning ideas. So the theme right in the middle, then an idea of how it could work since it was a light novel. Light novels have pictures. I could have done it like that. That's kind of where the journal entries came from, but I just didn't feel it was cool. Anyways, I came up with some random character, and that's I don't know how my audio's gonna be. Oh god. Well, that's how it is. At the top left, you'll see the name. Where does one find inspiration? That's another problem. I found inspiration through other mediums. I don't know where. By the way, this is definitely not scripted. That's why it's so messy and unorganized. I should probably script it. Oh, that's another key difference between me and Digibro I'd like to mention. It's also going to be all over the place. This is my first time really writing something in English, like something proper. Digi, he has been writing scripts for his videos for a long time. I only saw him for like less than a half a year, maybe a quarter year. So yeah, don't even know why I decided I'd follow him and do this. Anyhow, I just had a bunch of random ideas. Gave up on like all of them. Bottom left, you'll notice I have some little code thing, and that's kind of talking about how I would write down spells, and then bottom right, you'd see what kind of numbering system I was using. Chinese, normal / Latin. I don't know what actually you would call it, and Roman. I use parentheses a lot to separate them, which was a good thing. It's a really interesting thing. For example, here's how you'd spell it. I did this last stream. I'm going to do it again. 032 -2 5 Roman 4 or IV 0. Except you tried to do it as fast as possible. It's really weird. And I tried writing love in some stupid way. I don't know why. Because I thought, let's try to write some love. I never had any romantic experience. I don't know anything between romance. And I never explored anything of that scene. The whole middle, death is discovered. I tried following that up by saying something was discovered in magic. That's what Kess found. No, not Kess, sorry. I have a lot of people. Yeah, no, it's Kess. It's Kess. Yeah, I just had that. By the way, this paper, here's some random piece of scrap paper I have. Oh boy. So yeah, I could have continued it, but I would never have reached a 40k word quota that I was searching for. And that's fine. Okay, well, I'm gonna start talking about the anime Eromanga-sensei now. So, first off, episode 9 to 10, I was starting to get confused. What I meant by that is, so they're forced to work, for one, and writing, you need to be inspired. I chose those 3 weekends because I was prepping for that weekend, and it ended up working well. I had a lot of ideas coming in. I was actually able to write something, and I'm not sure if it's coherent. It's fairly coherent. I can still remember quite a few details. Just note it down in the comments if you want to. Well, anyways, they had to write like that, and I was starting to get confused. I'm also confused with how they work. Also, yeah, the whole writing the sequel to your book for Muramasa. Masamune never planned it, did he? And then he was just Masamune. I don't even remember his main name. I just remember the work name Masamune. Anyways, he just wrote it without like any planning time, and he did it overnight, or like slightly in the day and overnight, so less than 24 hours. Of course, if you saw how sick it probably was a light novel in itself, and it was just him writing whatever he wanted. That's cool. I did the same thing. Barely reached it. Of course, he had the whole basis, so he didn't have to invent too many things. He had characters set up and everything. But still, overnight writing is not something to laugh at. Unless he took like a 12-hour nap before he started writing, he'd just barely make it out alive. And don't forget, he was at a beach house, so he didn't have those energy drinks from the other time. So that makes it very inconsistent because he was tired those days with the energy drinks. This time, he was much less tired. I just realized. Yeah, and that made me very confused. And also, how can they spend so much free time during? I don't. Everyone knows it's really unrealistic. I just want to talk about to what point it's unrealistic. Again, inspiration though, still confused. I guess you can say it's a talent. It's hard to tell that because I'm one person. I never discussed this with many other people. No one else did it besides Digibro, but he wrote a commentary. He also had Twitter polls to get ideas and notes of his past. So he actually had a lot of previous bases, which kind of changes a bit. So, for example, what he would be doing is pretty much writing a sequel to a book he already wrote before, kind of what they did. But then again, he just barely made it, and he did it over a 1 week period of time. What I mean is, if you remember what Elf did inside those early episodes, when she spent like 1 day just to write an entire novel, and it was apparently really good. It was probably a sequel to her old novels, if I remember right. Well, oh, writing a sequel is a lot easier. You have your characters, you know who they are, you have their personalities, you have the setting and everything already pre-prepared and explained, so you can just pour out all your ideas. I had a lot of ideas that I forgot to note down and thus forgot to add them in. I also never continued it anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. If I would have continued it, I had a little resume in my in the Google Docs folder. So if you want to know how it would have ended, just read that. Also, it's visual novel, so there's pictures. When did they tell the artists? I just realized. Did they ever talk about how the artists are inside the visual novel world? Do they just draw any scene they want? Slash all the lewd scenes because that's all Eromanga-sensei can do, if you remember. Because she doesn't draw backgrounds, if you noticed. She barely draws backgrounds, or at least I don't remember seeing any. That show ended up being really bad in the last episode. Anyways, let's continue. So, in episode 11, their age, that's another thing. He's really young. Also, that phone they own, oh ho ho. Well, if you look at the picture that I'm probably going to have on the video, if I remember right, that's my phone keyboard. I have set up so I can use one hand. Wait, no, that's a Gboard. Professional. Well, considering how big it is, imagine the fingers on top. Yeah, it doesn't work out well. I don't have Photoshop, so I can't just edit it in. Remember, I'm using Movie Maker, so don't expect top quality editing. This is at least better than a podcast. Anyways, so the phone, big problem. It's hard to type on a phone. It's really inefficient and, oh Lord. If you've seen the interfaces for like many typing protocols, so many typing programs / Google Docs. I've seen it. It's not the greatest. Also, what are they using to type? Google Docs, I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's what Masamune or main. I'm just gonna call him Protag was using. If it was Google Docs, it's really hard to say because it's a fictional world. They don't talk about that. I have a lot of problems with it. It just happens to me that I just suddenly come up with ideas once I start talking about it. Anyway, so for one, he's he seems to write really, really fast for that young age. Don't know how repetitive the story is. I tried my best to make sure my story didn't start repeating the same things. That's why I started going in a million different ideas. Those once I started spreading the idea like a whole trip thing, that one was very bad. It was very bad. I also don't have an idea of how the workforce is, so like I don't actually know how construction is, how getting a job in construction works. Do you just work all the time because they just have jobs all the time, or they call you in at specific times? I chose construction because, well, labor is something I do at my house, not like a building. So just that's the first thing that came to mind. I needed to write something. That so well, that wouldn't really relate much to what they did in Eromanga-sensei because they were writing fantasy. But then again, writing fantasy. How much can you do in fantasy that's so different from others, considering what they had? Because it just looked like the generic dungeon exploring. May Again, they never went into detail on their story, so I can't say anything about that. Let's say it was not repetitive. They were always on constant arcs and a million new ideas. That's really hard. I realized when writing that everything I wrote was inspired by just something that happened to me. I had some guy go. I had Liz go to the beach and challenge someone there because I liked the idea of controlling temperature. The whole vector control. That's because I am a big fan of accelerator from a certain magical index, a certain scientific railgun, or his manga, which is what really made me like him, a certain scientific accelerator, which I own. Doesn't matter though because that's just a little point to mention how everything draws inspiration from something else. And if you knew those things, it's fairly obvious, fairly obvious. A bit less for the whole accelerator thing. That's just where I got the idea from. But you'd maybe see some things that I took from somewhere else. I had a really weird writing style too. I actually never read a light novel. So that's probably a big problem with what I did. Also, he said he did it because it made him happy. Yes, everyone finds their own thing, so I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the podcast that Digi did. These are things I kind of wanted to add. So, excuse me, episode 11. That one was the one where they showed a bit more about the past. I'm confused. They don't. Yeah, this video is going to be all over the place. They never really did anything that made sense to me. I was a bit confused about how. Okay, so here's how it all went. His mom died, Protag, and then he just learned the world of writing. Where did he see that? Because he was using a phone, right? I don't know what phone has those recommended pages that don't show anything else besides news. But alright, let's say a friend showed him. He never seems to hang out with anybody, so I can't say he has friends. Also, he needs glasses by now, considering how long he's been staring at computers. But then again, I have eye degeneration, so I can't say anything about how the process to getting glasses is. I can't say because I never experienced it properly. I did the same amount of electronics as all the kids, but I ended up needing glasses early on. So yeah, that's fun little story facts about my life, and I'm all over the place again. Yeah. So that confused me. Where did you discover it? Because I wouldn't have just bothered walking onto reading. Maybe a teacher showed me, but no one really ever liked school. But again, they never even talked about the whole school aspect. Big thing I need a rant about. I'm a student. How does he do it? He's a student too, again, Japanese school, whatever. I'm even an IB, so I shouldn't be complaining because I have the extra work. My question is, are there ever group projects at Japanese schools? Do they ever work in groups? Because if so, there are some certain group projects like videotaping projects. You do those with other people. Does he ever do those? Also, his sister. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Why are the two allowed to live alone? Why are they allowed to live alone? And he does a lot of chores, as you notice. He cooks. He has to clean the house. Considering how big the house is and how I bet they're not frequenting every single room, especially because they don't only show two rooms, really. Eromanga-senseis and barely even shows pro tags. Did they even show? Yeah, they showed his. So those are only ones that would not catch dust. Does he ever clean any of the other rooms? Didn't look dirty to me. It's been like a year, right? Oh. I had to vacuum really often. And that's because everything gets dirty really fast. I also have dogs, but that's another story. Cooking, that should take away a lot of his time. Also, those 24 hours, yeah, that's ignoring dinner and lunchtime. Does he cook for himself while writing? Because I find that really unbelievable. So I'm probably gonna just have a huge board with all my ideas because I'm just rambling right now and I don't make sense. In fact, I might even cut out this section of rambling and just speed it up so that you guys can just sit through rambling while reading the text I'll scroll. Anyhow, uh, some weird square with an X on top. Probably I don't remember what that is. Oh boy, yeah. My notes. It's just some random scribbles I did. By the way, nah, you know what? I'm not gonna talk about that. So, another point I'm gonna point out. How did Sagiri find his book? If no one else was reading it, how did she find it? Was she just actively reading every story online? If so, how did she not find professional stories better than something a child wrote? Please tell me. Is it because childs attract children? Similar to attract or whatever that saying was. Eh. So it's Japanese again. A big problem with this project is that they are Japanese. They write in Japanese or kanji most likely. They write it on paper that's portrait mode. No, not landscape mode. Sorry. As seen when printing. I have a lot of problems. I just have a lot of problems because I'm realizing they never go into the proper details. They put a lot of emphasis on Eromanga-sensei, right? The artist for the light novel. We never talk about how she learns what to draw. Apparently, Masamune never talked to him. It was just the editors too at the start, as you learned. That raises a million problems. How does that relationship even exist if the author never talked to the artist? That's a big point I wish they would have talked about. That would have at least made the show slightly better. Also, I'm a child, so it was appealing at start. It was more appealing than it was for Digi, most likely. But of course, I was watching Digi, so his influence as the ones of a god were running on to me, and I was starting to get not so into the book. Yada yada. Also, I liked Akashic Records on that note, so uh, yeah, that's kind of why it just went on. Akashic Records, the influence for that was I wanted to write a magic book, and I also wanted to have my own magic system and a system that had leeway. Like they had words that you would use. Mine was types of numbers and where you place it. It's always a set amount. So this is my third voice clip. I'm not going to call any Oz, so yeah, I'm still fairly sick. I had fun live streaming. I still had fun doing this project. I gotta say, I see where he got his happiness from. Writing is really fun, especially when You get to pour out whatever you want. And that's what being a self-author or like just becoming an author right off the start really helps. So let's just summarize all the points that I'm busting from the anime. For one, it is, from what I experienced, pretty much impossible for both Elf and Masamune and Muramasa, maybe. I don't know what she was doing. She was doing Shogun stuff, so maybe she just watched a lot of TV. Also, they never don't watch a lot of TV, so that adds to this point. They don't have much to get inspired by. They just come up with ideas, which is, I guess, if they had talent, like, they were just born with that, and it just naturally came to them. I'll let it slip. But then again, they'd be a lot more creative. It seemed generic, as you notice. It was the same fancy, same everything. No one liked it because it was fancy. Also, whole story. Remember this from the anime too. Masamune or Protag became popular or known for his romantic comedy of him and his sister. He wrote a whole light novel about his love for his sister. Question: where did he get all that content from? We obviously know he was inspired by his life, but he barely knew his sister for that time. I'm fairly certain it was just like half a year when he wrote that from when he actually met up with his sister. How much could he have written? How much would he have bullshitted? By the way, I don't swear. That's why I went shizzed. Anyways, where would he gone? Where would he have gotten all of that? All of those ideas to have a whole book. Of course, at that time, he probably taught Sagiri about what to draw. I also have a bunch of questions about how do they not publish so fast when they write so many books so often. It's stupid. I'm not going to start ranting about the show and just continue to talk about the flaws. Elf. Having like sparks of inspiration, like I had at the end of this, like boom, I mentioned dimension. Boom, I had that whole like this another world. What if it actually is another world who's talking? Boom, let's just combine everything together. And I was able to just write pages upon pages upon pages and words upon words upon words of stuff. Yes, you can have moments of inspiration like that. But enough for a book? I find that really hard to believe, especially for someone who was just lazing around playing video games. Also, I never drank energy drinks, so if I drank energy drinks, I wouldn't be able to continue the next day. And they were writing for days upon days upon days upon days. And don't forget, Masamune, I'm going back on tangents, sorry. Well, anyway, so that's why I'm saying that it's hard. I don't know where to find inspiration enough to write as fast as they do. So if it was maybe, let's say, a week, I'd be a lot more inclined to say it's believable, because that's still really hard to find ideas. Like I said, I did it 3 days straight, and I was just pooped out of ideas, and I became sick in the next few days. That's my first problem. Second problem, writing speed. Oh boy, writing on a like constantly, like nonstop on a laptop. Depending on what laptop they're using, a transformer. So one that's both a tablet. I have one that's like that too. So let's say I have the same one. They have a Japanese keyboard. I've seen how a Japanese or kanji keyboard. I've seen how kanji keyboard works. They have certain symbols and you have to combine in the right order and it'll go together. That's actually really simple compared to the English one where you need to do all the words. They also never proofread, so that bugs me a hell of a lot because, oh my lord, the amount of mistakes I made. So, writing speed, that's something I have a problem with. They also well, then again, they have years of experience. They've been writing for a long time, from what I noticed. Surprised they didn't have the idea of skipping school or something to do their job, because they have a job. They can, if they're selling enough, if they're even selling books, and they have a fan base, well, you're already set to live on writing. So why does he need to continue going to school besides learn proper grammar and how to do less mistakes? Problem, they're already not doing mistakes because I never see them proofread. I proofread it a bit. That's why it is even 14 hours. Take away the time I spent streaming, fixing everything else. Probably would have dropped down to 10 hours of work for those 13K. So yeah, that's not a problem I had. I didn't write down my problems, by the way, so it's gonna be all over the place. Oh boy. Anyhow, uh, I can't write. You cannot write for days upon days upon days, and not get tired of writing. We already saw Muramasa had bandaged fingers. Why does it Masamune or Protag? I always say Masamune. I don't even know his last name. I'll call him Oni-chan. Why does Oni-chan have non-broken fingers? We see that he writes a lot. Now again, Muramasa, she does a lot of handwritten stuff, but tapping starts tapping actually strains left the hand than writing with a pencil. I'll give it that. I experienced that from writing at school compared to writing at home. Anyways, and no more tangents. I play a lot of video games, and that also gave me a lot of ideas, but also made me want to do those. So since he never does any of those, I'll give it to him that he's never distracted to do something else. But doing the same thing, writing the same story. Luckily, he ends his stories like a proper author would, because you never want to just continue writing the same thing. It gets boring. Also, I'm constantly moving, so if you hear the audio shift, well, too bad. I can't edit the audio's volume in separate bits because Movie Maker is terrible. Well, so that's a problem I have. Just writing in general is a really difficult thing to do. I'm gonna stop. I need to breathe a bit more. So, writing speed, yeah, I already talked about that. What was I talking about? Yeah, I have a bad memory, so don't expect me to do as good as dumb as they do to remember the story. That's why it became really difficult for me to continue the story, because I needed to go back and reread constantly to remember, like, for example, what I set was the date for her birthday, for example. I mean, what I set as the birthday for the main character of my light novel, Liz. I didn't want to do a romance ecchi thing. I'm not too into ecchi. Hard to say. When I literally on my anime list, I once tagged something as that one ecchi anime I always have in my currently watching. So let's ignore that. Let's ignore that. um, so there's a lot of things I don't understand. Like, well, obviously I don't. I'm still young. I don't know how the whole selling process works. I don't even know how they know. I don't know how the school system works at all. Uh, Sagiri, let's talk about. Oh no, that's drawing. Yeah, like I said, the problem I realized while ranting about all this. This is going to be like a podcast. Well, Sagiri's drawing. She just draws whatever she wants, right? You don't do that for a light novel. You usually draw something related to what's the current event that's happening, or what's about to happen, to just foreshadow it, because it sets the mood. You also, what do you read? Why do you read? I mainly read because of obligation for school, but when I do read for like a story that I want, excuse me, for a story that I want, I'm looking for something that's not something I already seen before, something that's like creative in how it works, and like that's kind of why I wanted to have something where I mention a million points so I can use them later. So that at the end of my book, I would have probably used up all those little tidbits I noted, like how Dev he seems to be learning magic really quickly, and how the assistant guy mentioned Dev once, and that. I don't know how much they can pull out of their arse. And problem with okay, you know what? I'm gonna just get this out. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm gonna say it once again. How do they publish so little books, but still write as fast as they do? It's just not accepted, right? Yeah, you just continue. They don't accept a sequel to a proper series. Excuse me. Oh, also, so yeah, there's a lot of things I'm not allowed to talk about. Typing speed, reading speed, demographic, ideas, because, well, we're never shown their life. Actually, we are. They're writing all the time, or else they are doing absolutely F all. Just sitting around, looking at, reading, reading your emails. That's the thing that I realize. I have also, it's hard to say that they have distractions. Elf obviously is distracted by everything. And also, those moments of inspiration, that was thrown out the window in episode 9 when Elf was forced to write and she was just able to write anyways, even though she didn't have those inspirational moments like you mentioned before. Wow. I am just realizing just how inconsistent this story is starting to get. I might even make a video about. Oh, by the way, I finished Eromanga-sensei a few days ago. The reason why I didn't post is I'm gonna write that in the description. Well, yeah, I wanted to end the world at one point. I technically ended the first world because I didn't plan on bringing them back or something. I don't know. I don't remember what I wrote in the Google Docs document. I also use Word so that has a slight help in the autocorrect. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have text scrolling on the screen currently, and there's also gonna be just some more Neptunian music in the background, isn't there? Well, that's enough from me. I never script anything. I just don't like scripting things. I also don't know how good the audio for my mic is because every mic seems to not be able to record my voice. It sounds way too coarse because I don't know. It's either that my voice is really deep or there's just sudden really high pitched points because I can speak in a high pitched voice. And let's do that for the outro, which I never did before on my YouTube channel. I still have a sore throat from when I was sick. By the way, that was no. By the way, I mentioned that because I mentioned that before in my Dimension Neptunia versus Sega Hard Girl streams. Well, that's about it. My throat is gonna kill me after doing this, and goodbye. Alright. So let's just I forgot to mention a bunch of stuff. So this is the fourth voice clip. Again, you'll probably hear cuts. I'm trying to record this as fast as possible because no one's in the house and I record on my computer mic and it's really bad. That's why my voice is probably gonna be extremely bad or terrible. I'm gonna do a lot of text. Quick points, I go to French school and I'm gonna redo this project, except this time I'm gonna transcribe a short story or some story I'm gonna read. Also, I'm gonna read a light novel so I can understand how you write one. And yeah, so because the whole transcripting thing, that's what they did like for like 5 days straight with between Masamune and L for Protag. Whatever, that's all. Bye.